It's a big day for Mercedes-Benz today because today is the launch of the AMG GLC 43 Coupe. Now, why it's big is because this is a landmark car. This is the first AMG that has been actually locally assembled in India. And with the pricing at around 76 lakhs ex-showroom, it promises to change the dynamics of the high-performance car market. A lot of the taxes saved by not having import duties has been passed on to the customer. And telling us more about that is the head of Mercedes-Benz India himself, Martin Schwenk. Martin, congratulations. Quite a big step, a big, bold step to kind of go for local assembly of what is actually a very niche brand. So, was this a leap of faith? You are now believing that there will be volumes for AMG and starting off with the GLC 43 Coupe?
Thanks, Thomas, for that question. I mean, I don't think it's a leap of faith. It shows that we have seen consistently growth in the performance car segment over the last couple of years. We have been very successful with our lineup. I mean, if you think, for example, of the AMG GLE 43, which has been a very strong seller. So we have seen over the last couple of years, if I go back like 5 years, we sold maybe a third of cars we have potential now. And so we clearly believe that the market is further growing, and we see also the audience is expanding. We have more and more people who are interested in performance cars, and we think with the GLC 43, we here offer an AMG product which is then available and approachable for far more customers.
But Martin, at what number can you share a rough number as to when it starts? There is a business case for going from CPU to CKD. Could it be maybe 400-500 units a year? Is that a fair assumption?
There is no static number. It really depends model by model. It depends on which bracket we are in for the importation duty, for example. If you're below the $40,000, you have a different point than and if you're above the 40,000. So let me say like this: for a higher priced vehicle, you reach that point a little earlier, and that means for an AMG car, a couple of hundred is a good enough number to say, which if we sell that annually, that should surely do it. But I wouldn't exclude or be very specific, because we really do a case by case study, and we look into everything from market potential to development of exchange rate and the customs and logistics environment we have at hand. So every product is decided for itself.
In certain states, you also get certain benefit on registration tax, which is it's higher for CBU. So, is that also something that you're looking at? I mean, the road tax is certain states on CBUs is more than locally assembled cars.
Well, I think the biggest contributor here is the import duty, which is the biggest. But of course, anything that mitigates to some extent the tax regime and lower road taxes help there as well. But I think overall, it's the overall tax on tax type of proposition which makes it more attractive. So if we can bring down the duties, that reduces obviously the following taxes on GST and cess, and then subsequently the benefit will be again on road tax. So the system of building up taxes, if you can basically reduce it at the very beginning, and that is then with import duties here in that instance, then you don't stack up so much, and it helps definitely for the customer, and it helps us then eventually also I shouldn't shy away from that. It also helps us to have a more profitable business case. We expect then higher volumes can then also benefit out of the price point.
Right. And Martin, just press you a bit on this whole local assembly, operation, not just for AMG, but for your other cars. I mean, there is something like you have local assembly, but sourcing components from India, are we still a long way from that? You need much higher volumes for that to be achieved, because I think right now, from what I understand, the components themselves are all, let's say, imported, just assembled over here.
Well, I mean, assemble, if you consider it, usually starts on the one hand, we build and assemble the engines. On the other hand, in a large range of our portfolio, we do the assembly of body panels in the body shop. And then we have a fully fledged paint shop and the assembly of then the vehicle itself. Yes, that is the depth of localization we can achieve with these volumes. If you consider higher localization, you immediately come into substantial investments, and that's specifically on fixtures and tooling that is necessary. I mean, for sure, for example, a body panel requires several thousand, several millions of dollars, for example, to do a body panel localization, and then you need a high enough volume to amortize that. And similarly, when you talk, say for example, molds for bumpers or for seats and so forth, we need substantially higher volumes in order to be able to amortize it then. Because with the current volumes, even our best-selling cars is a couple of thousand at best. This is not feasible. And then it would also limit us then in terms of variants we can offer. We would have then to reduce variants on top. So I think we're quite a bit away from deeper localization, which would then be in the forming of parts into plastic parts, into electronic components or whatever.
Right. Just talking about your shift to local assembly over CBU, which has given you a lot of benefits in taxation. I just want to touch upon, the whole taxation policy in India. I mean, just your views on it. I mean, one would think it's quite logical that obviously on CBs you pay a higher tax to encourage make in India. You have a lower tax on assembly, and then obviously with more deeper localization, you have an even lower tax benefit. Do you think policy-wise, this is correct, or do you think that let's say there's a disproportionate amount of duty on CBUs because on certain models, there's just no question of assembly. So whatever the tax is going to be a CBU irrespective. So it really doesn't promote make in India. But on the other hand, you have actually gone ahead with an AMG and locally assembled it here. So it just goes to show that companies can benefit from the existing policy as well. So just your thoughts on the overall taxation structure.
I think, the duty element is one. The other one is the GST and cess taxes. Obviously, on the duty, of course, the tax differential or the duty differential here supports a localization. On the other hand, what we need is, in order to develop the market, to develop customers, we also need to bring vehicles in. So I think we are quite happy that at least we have this 2,500 vehicle rule, under which we have a simplified process to import vehicles. I still find, for example, the differentiation between say cars with an import value of $40,000 to the number above makes no sense. We essentially pay double the duties on cars above $40,000 import value. I think that is not necessary. That doesn't change it doesn't protect the local industry. It just creates additional hurdles for us to grow the market. If you look on the other hand, what really keeps us back then is that the market size is not developing accordingly, and there the final price to the customer is too high in many instances. And there, Hormazd, I wouldn't want to look only at the luxury segment. I would want to look at the entire premium and luxury car segment, say above 20 lakh. That is just not a big enough market. And there, I think there is too many strings attached, too much taxes happening, which will and is slowing the growth of the market in that segment. But again, I don't think that will go away and over the foreseeable future. So we have to arrange and set our systems up under that environment.
Right. And, Martin, the taxation is one part, but I think of late what we are seeing is non-fiscal hurdles or let's say barriers, which are challenges like ISI marks required on whether it's glass, rims, restrictions on tire imports. especially for manufacturers like you all? Is this really a huge disruption? I mean, right now, getting tires for cars is proving to be a big hurdle in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it becomes always an issue if you have a wide portfolio and a lot of variants at relatively low volumes. I mean, we have the widest portfolio of vehicles at all. We have, around 25 different models we offer. And with that, in every model, we have different engine variants, and every one of those has then a different setup. So when we talk, for example, of glass, or if we talk of rims, if we talk of tires, then obviously we have to consider we have a substantial variance there. We have around, I would say, around 150 different tires. 150 different tires. In our best years, we sold 15, 16,000 cars. You can imagine how little amount of tires I need for some models. And then to expect that these tires can be produced locally, and some of them, they're just not even available, or they're not certified with our cars. They will maybe not suffice the safety requirements. So it is difficult for us. Of course, we can work for licenses, and we do that, for example, on the tires. But still, that's an administrative process which takes time and is complicated. So we understand the wish, but we would hope that for small car manufacturers, and specifically if they are OEMs, that there could be a little bit more, how can I say, leniency, or opening it up to make it less complicated. Certification, for example, of our rims, of our glass. The problem is not so much that the quality of our parts wouldn't comply. The problem is, again, the variants. Dozens of different variants with multiple suppliers all over the world, and RD processes that need to define, and that goes from India IT, Germany IT, different aspects. It needs to be redesigned. Even if it's just the logo, it needs to go to multiple suppliers, and they need to ask for the certification. That is all doable, but there it comes to complexity, and it comes to timing, and we have a lot of pressure specifically in these areas to meet the times. Specifically, glass is still a major concern.
Let's come back to the AMG bit. Clearly, I think this is really a game changer. The fact that you've committed to assembling something so niche as an AMG in India, but just want to know the road ahead. One would assume that the big advantage comes at the lower end of the range, because obviously price is more sensitive to smaller cars. So can one assume that the A35 would be is a good candidate going forward for the next model, and then looking at a range really below the GLC 43?
Well, let me say it like this. I mean, it's a very conscious decision we took, also with coming the 53 just late September, and now with the GLC 43. We believe there is a market, there is growth potential in the market, and we really believe there is more potential. So I think it's a good guess to assume that we would look also in the A sedan what we can do there. So I'm hopeful that this will find an even wider audience if we continue to do that. That's definitely in the cards to look into.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to give 76 lakhs for a GLC 43, I think an A sedan, given the AMG treatment, would obviously be at a very, very compelling price and a lot of bang for the buck. Very strong, powerful, the most powerful four-cylinder engine. I think I think it would have a lot of potential. But is there any time frame you can share that when will we see the next round of localized AMG models? I mean, obviously.
I mean, we are at the moment still in ramping up our NGC products, that is the GLA and the A limousine. We have had quite some substantial delays because of restrictions and availability of support we need for the ramp up, and this is touching into so it will potentially take a couple of more weeks and months to get there then eventually. So I cannot really give you a firm date. It's still under consideration. I can just say we have consistently now invested in our factory here, and we will continue to do that. And eventually, I'm confident we'll also bring then the additional AMG model here on the road. But it will take a few more weeks.
Right. So, okay, sorry, I had lost you over there. So what you're saying is for the next AMG models, you can't give a confirmed date, but I mean, it is definitely being planned and on the cards.
We are definitely thinking of bringing in the A limousine as well, the AMG version. Again, we are at the moment still in ramp up and slightly delayed. So it will take a few more weeks for the cars to come.
Right. Okay. Lastly, Martin, talking on AMG and the market potential. You've got in the localized one. This is the first of them. There will be more AMGs coming. Clearly, you are building the market for them, price being one of the biggest hurdles. What else is driving the growth for high performance, brands like AMG? And, is it largely driven by the fact that you have a lot of SUVs in the AMG portfolio, which is so much more practical for Indian conditions? Is that the main growth driver there? Or are customers looking for a combination of everyday usability and performance? So just want to get your sense, what is really driving AMG growth in India to the point that you are now confident of even localizing them because you have that base volume?
I mean, I think it's a mix of several elements. I mean, for sure, we know that customers want to individualize. They want also to express themselves, and we see that in many different segments. For sure, we see with the GLE AMG, for example, or now the GLC AMG, we see that there's a lot of customers who appreciate the versatility that on the one hand they can have a sporty car and still a practical car. Also, I mean, there is no so much scraping over the speed bumps and everything if you have an SUV style AMG. So it's definitely a practical proposition to many customers. At the same time, it's a good way to differentiate. It's a good way to have fun in driving, which I think is still a major motivator when you come to performance cars. And we can see that in all elements. It's not that it's just only SUVs, because then we wouldn't think it's possible on sedans. We think there is a market for people who really enjoy driving, who enjoy also the aspiration of having a performance car, and we believe there is market.
Right. Well, last question, Martin, for the AMG buyer, what can he expect in terms of an ecosystem being developed? Are you looking at more AMG specific events? What's really being done for the AMG buyer to kind of really, get him more attracted to the brand? Of course, price is one thing which you're going to achieve with a CKD operation on certain CKD models, but beyond that, what are the plans?
I mean, for sure, we have with our dedicated AMG performance centers, we have a special dedication, and that offers not only expertise and while sales, but it also has a lot of customer service and loyalty measures around that. So I clearly think there will be further development in that area, but it is a little premature to throw something out here at you. For sure, we take cognizance of the fact that the community is growing, and we want to have them also then as loyal Mercedes customers. So let's see what's coming there, Hormazd. Yeah, but I think we have already a very strong setup with our performance centers and our strong and large dealer network we're offering here.
So thanks, Martin. I'll leave you with that little hint you've given that there's more excitement to come for AMG customers. That's good to know. But thanks for talking to us, for your time, and wish you all the best. And I think I think you've had a good sort of run into end of what has been a very difficult year. And let's hope 2021 is better. So thanks so much, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Hormazd. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.